おはようございます。こんにちは。なんで日本語で始めたかな日本語で始めちゃった。英語でやります。ごめんなさい。Thank you so much for watching the Sashiko Live Streaming. This is Atsushi, and today is the Thursday night in the Eastern Time. So today is the Thursday night Sashiko Stitching Live Streaming. Welcome to that. Just a second. すいません。日本語でご説明を。金曜日のお昼、英語で差し子の配信をやって、夜、日本語で差し子の配信をやろうと思ってますので、また夜に戻ってきてもらえると嬉しいです。Alright, let's do the Sashiko stitching and talk about Sashiko today, as always. Let me check the... check. Check. あれ Just a second, okay? I need to make sure that... Check. あれ Oh. Check. Alright, thank you so much for this. Okay. I can do it now. Alright. It's snowing, and in the US, in this Pennsylvania, snow means that there might be school canceled tomorrow. So that's not actually a good sign, but let's see how it's gonna go. I hope it's not gonna snow that much, and I've seen the news that there are a lot colder places. I hope you're not freezing right now. This is the live streaming. I will start stitching very soon, and I will fade off. I will fade out myself. I will not do any teaching. I will not explain how to do it. That's not a purpose of this live streaming. Instead, if you could bring some of the stuff you can stitch, if you can bring some of the project that you're working on, doesn't have to be Sashiko, but if we can share the time together doing something at Thursday night, talking about mainly Sashiko and of course the Japanese culture together, that's my goal, and that's we have a word for that. We call ibasho. Sometimes people translate it as the home, but it's more like a place to be. I would like to make a place to be without any judging or without like being honest. All right, I will shift it to this stitching. Hello, Lily-san. Lily-san, ありがとうございます。Hello, thank you so much for coming. Sakura. This is Sakura. Sakura, over there. When I talk, she always wanna come. Can you say hello? No. Alright. For some reason, cat likes fabric and thread. Sorry for the... I am going to talk about... Today's topic is my long time scared question. What do you like about Sashiko? In 2019, I kind of started realizing that the understanding of Sashiko in English is a little bit different from what I knew. Later on, after 2 years of learning, I concluded that the Sashiko explained in English is not wrong, but insufficient. It's not like it's not much enough. It's not about being good or bad. It's just not enough. There's not enough information to explain what Sashiko is. So I'm probably scared of knowing how Sashiko became in English. I of course do see that every day in the photos, or many people tell me what is Sashiko right now. At the same time, by asking this question, what do you like about Sashiko, I will probably figure it out where I stand now. The question of what is Sashiko or what is Boro will create right or wrong or sufficient or insufficient. However, the question, what do you like about Sashiko? There's no really right or wrong answer, and I really don't wanna judge it, or I don't wanna make a decision on that. If you like Sashiko in a certain way, there's no place for me to, comment it. Either I agree or disagree, or I may learn something new, you may learn something new, but that's gonna probably narrow it down why Sashiko became so big trend in the English. So, but 2020, 2022, we Japanese make a lot of, not a lot of, a lot of Japanese makes the resolution for each year. And this year, the key word for this year, 2022, is the courage. Courage. Um, I have been trying my best to be honest as possible, and this is part of the live streaming is part of that. I cannot edit it, this one. Well, I can, but I don't want to edit this one. And since if I say it right now, it's gonna direct to you. I can, modify it later on, but I don't want to do it. I can show my stitching without any editing. You're seeing the Sashiko stitching right now, done by Sashiko practitioner. And talking about Sashiko as well. In 2000, but until now, as much as I am speaking up, of course, there are things that I'm scared of. More like worried about. I don't have any fear in that. Well, maybe fear. But it's really something that I really shouldn't probably touch it. There's a thing that, we probably have something we would like to keep it aside as long as we can, like procrastinate as much as we can, as long as we can. And the question about asking question, what do you like about Sashiko, is for me one of those things that I wanted to procrastinate. But this year I asked that question on my Instagram already, and I will probably keep asking that. What is the thing that you find likable about Sashiko? And I do have a lot of answers for that. In fact, well, I have a lot of stories for that. Helen, hello, thank you. I like the geometry, the structure of the stitching, the textures that it can produce on the fabric. I like that it is useful, making new from old. Thank you, Helen. And it's very true. Sashiko is very big. Um, let me. How can I put this way? Sashiko became a little bit bigger than what it is. So there is a lot of understanding that Sashiko is the structure, the practice, but in reality, it's not that. Of course, everybody has its structure, the Sashiko. I do, of course, have that structured Sashiko, and I teach that on my class in person or online. Um, so it is beautiful because of the structured stitching, and well, but that might be something new to learn. So some people like Sashiko because it can be making a new from old. But we do have a culture like that, right? We do have a culture to, we as like, non-Japanese people, do we have, is it common to have that kind of culture to make new out of old? That's quite an interesting point. That's really quite an interesting point. I mean, this probably related to the question, why do you call it Sashiko? But in English, when I ask why do you call it Sashiko, many people translate in their mind that how could you call it Sashiko, which I did not mean, and I do not mean at all. It's my pure question why. But when I asked that question 2 years ago, trust me, many people took it that I'm accusing somebody. Like, how could you call it Sashiko without blah blah blah? So that was another big hustle. So I don't really ask that question anymore. But since it is so ordinarily for me, it's very I don't want to say normal. It is so close to me as ordinary is the word ordinary. What I do is not really the point that I like about Sashiko. Please don't get me wrong. I completely understand how you like Sashiko, but because of my unique background, what I can do or what I even do right now or I'm doing right now is really not the reason I like Sashiko. It is the reason I like Sashiko, but that's not the first reason I like Sashiko. It's so difficult. The question what do you like about Sashiko is very fundamental question because I have been hating Sashiko for like last 30 years or so. So I was very much wondering why do people do Sashiko because I hate it so much. It's boring. It's it's kind of old fashioned. It's not cool. We can make a lot of reasons for not liking Sashiko. I found many reasons after that why I like Sashiko, but that's my whole life. I have been thinking about what is it that I like about Sashiko. But again, there's no such a thing as the right answer and the wrong answer. It is my goal to keep talking about it so we can all kind of find something new. Defining somebody's preference is the last thing I would like to do and the last thing I want you to do it. Like for example, Sashiko is blah blah blah, therefore you must like it, is a little bit too much. And I don't do that. But at the same time, I wanna share the perspective that you may not know. So let's see. Oh, thank you so much for the comment. I'm sorry I missed that. As someone with no skill with a needle thread, I like the culture and heart put into it. Yep. That's probably what I would summarize, although I stitch. Therefore, it's kind of confusing to me that some really it's confusing to me because I have met someone who said that they don't care about Japanese culture while calling their stitching Sashiko. And then my question came in, like, why do you call it Sashiko then? But there are a lot of stories around it. Culture. Then we have to define what culture is. But for me, culture is the summary, accumulation, or even average, or even median, the median of the ordinary, median of many people's ordinary practice is called culture, kind of. Of course, you have your own definition for the culture, but culture cannot be extraordinary for the people who belong, who exist within that. So the Japanese culture means that the practice or ordinary things for the Japanese, average Japanese or ordinary Japanese people. So when they say that they're interested in Japanese Sashiko and yet they don't care about Japanese culture, it really didn't make sense to me. And well, I keep looking into that. But since there are a lot of stories, stories will make the culture, and culture comes from story. Oh, sorry, stories makes culture, and then stories comes from the culture too. Story makes the culture, and story makes the culture, and story comes from the culture too. I like boring. The hand moved without through the meditative and soothing. That's one perspective. That's one perspective of saying that, which I didn't like much. Today's Instagram, I just posted like 30 minutes ago or so. That's one perspective of the. There are two things that I probably can categorize. Two big major perspective. One is that simple repetitional practice of Sashiko. Some people find it soothing, relaxing, and healing. I had worked with the occupational therapist. No, how do you call those people? Physical therapist, probably. Some physical therapy. They use those muscles and stuff like that. And we were thinking if Sashiko could be part of their program. Um, we worked on the researches. I have to have that update. Anyway, so the simple and repetitive practice itself is, of course, indeed a good part of Sashiko. At the same time, if that's the only perspective which one likes Sashiko, then it does not have to be Sashiko, right? Of course, it can be Sashiko, but there are a lot of other, even within the small category of hand stitching. Probably there are a lot similar stitching culture with or without the name, with the simple repetition. So then another question kind of kicks in. Why then Sashiko? Again, I'm not asking how could you, you know, it's pure white, pure white. Why? That that's the first perspective, and the second perspective is the Japanese culture, Japanese mindset. As Tab said that hurt put in, it's not a hurt from the physical hurt. It's probably the philosophy or mindset or those kind of, something invisible into it. I do not have to explain what it is to Japanese people because we can kind of get it together. It's like a mutual expectation because we share the culture already. I do not plan or even dare, not a dare. I don't plan to explain what it is. I don't try to verbalize what it is. What the Japanese mutual understanding in Sashiko is, because it could be a little too much and too. I don't know that word. It's not kind of stylish. It's really not. Uh, in Japanese, it's called iki. It's against the manner, probably, if I can translate that. But at the same time, we do not share those. Something invisible and something we cannot verbalize well. And I think this YouTube channel, and as well as my Instagram, Facebook, all of my things actually on the internet is to explain what that invisible thing is, or something that we cannot verbalize well. Since we cannot verbalize, we cannot define well neither. So I do teach Sashiko as probably a sort of technical perspective for the section, not a section, category 1. But at the same time, when I complete the class, I always say that this is their start of finding the second category. So those are not mutually exclusive. 1 or 2 is not the case. It can be 1 and 2. And it is good that Sashiko is calming, relaxing, healing to many people because of the category 1, which is the simple, ordinary, repetitive practice. At the same time, since you are enjoying Sashiko, what I would like to do is to somewhat navigate people to the understanding of what Sashiko is for that. Does it make sense? I hope it makes sense. It is very challenging. Like, many Japanese friends told me that it's impossible to do it. And yes, I know how difficult it is, especially while stitching in my second language. It is probably almost impossible. It's really similar to the problem that we cannot explain wabi-sabi very well. We cannot explain wabi-sabi very well because when we can explain or verbalize what wabi-sabi is, it is no longer wabi-sabi to us, to me at least. Does it make sense? It is very weird. Oh, Nana-san, hello. Thank you so much for coming. This is not only my impression because I have asked the other Japanese friend about it, but asking the definition of wabi-sabi, asking somebody to verbalize what the wabi-sabi is already not wabi-sabi. Like, it's so effed up. But I really want to share the whole picture, the picture I am looking at. I'm not looking at the whole picture, but I know that the picture described in English is not covering my part. So that missing part is I tried to use a lot of analogy, but probably one extreme analogy is language. So I did not speak any English. I could read and I could write English when I was in high school, but I couldn't really speak English when I was in high school. When I came to the US for the first time, I couldn't even order the glass of milk because I couldn't say milk. My pronunciation is not that great, neither yet, but that bad. There are so many words that we shouldn't really even think about. But I learned English from South Park and The Office, and yeah, and Eminem probably a little bit. So South Park, the season Office, like 9 seasons of The Office, and I mean Michael, yeah, and the Eminem is gonna define. My English was defined by those three: Cartman and Michael Scott and Eminem. Their English, again, Cartman's English, Michael's English, not Michael's, probably Jim's English, and Eminem's English was the whole picture of my understanding of English, like as a language to speak, like a pronunciation and intonation, stuff like that. Of course, from the friends, but making a friends from the first year into the college where I couldn't speak English was kind of difficult. Only friends I could make was in this smoking area back then. asking for the fire or lighter, stuff like that. Anyway, for that, because of those English definition from those three categories, English from England, English spoken in England was extremely difficult to get it, to even understand back then. Now I kind of want to try to learn that pronunciation, but any other English outside of US, especially the commercialized US, was not the English for me back then. And the correct English for me was those English from those three categories. Since I didn't know that English around that, my English was very filtered. There's nothing wrong with being filtered, but it's gonna be a problem if I start saying that the English is supposed to be that. The right English is supposed to be from The Office and South Park and Eminem. Then it's gonna be a little bit of a problem because I don't know the whole picture. The current situation of Sashiko is like that too, bit. So what you know is what they know is very correct. It is English for that. It is Sashiko, but there are other Sashiko, which is the dialect. I don't want to say dialect, but different, but the same idea, but different. And those differences are missing greatly. It's not explained well. So that's what I'm doing. What a perfect second language, father. Yeah, well, being a father is a completely different story, so let's see. Many people I do not anymore talk to my daughter in Japanese. I used to talk to my daughter in Japanese until she was 2 or 3, and after she started going to the preschool and also the elementary, we decided to not do. My wife speaks Russian, Hebrew, and I speak Japanese, and actually, the only language we speak as a common language is English. So after many discussions, we decided to stick with English as the mother language. And she can learn, of course, English, the Russian or Hebrew or Japanese whenever she wants to, but we decided not to force her to learn. I only speak English to my wife. There's only English in our family, so it is not natural for us to force it was not natural for us to kind of force her to do it. I know this is a very sensitive topic and there's no answer. There's not the specific answer for that. But that's our decision as of now, and so I don't know if I'm a good second language father, but we're doing our best. Well, my daughter teaches me Sashiko. I'm not a Sashiko. My daughter corrects my English, so that's an interesting phenomenon. I sometimes talk about sustainability, right? Sustainability. I made a video about the cultural sustainability, and I do care about sustainability as the environment, but last 2 years I had to worry about our sustainability. That's great. That'd be fantastic if I could teach my daughter several languages, but we had to survive first. We had to keep our shit together. So I did not know any English until very late, and my wife speaks 3 languages, and she was born from the how can I say? She's not the she's not the interracial couples. So she learned that later on. So it is possible to learn any languages even after a certain age. And she she's not that language person. She doesn't stop talking, but anyway. Sorry, my daughter's story is not that important. I am doing Sashiko for the first time and using a panel. Is it like quilting where you need to start? um, that's a very good point, and that's the probably you might get disappointed, but I do not recommend panel, or I do not, at least I do not do it by myself because um, it's very one part of Sashiko. Yeah, it's really one part of Sashiko, and which is this is a horrible example, but stitching on the pre-printed patterns panel is good, focusing on the result. So you may be able to get a very good result, but it's like eating the frozen pizza already prepared. What you have to do is put that into the oven and then wait for that thing. And it's good. The frozen pizza is fantastic and I enjoy it. But there are also the homemade pizza with the tomato sauce and stuff like that. And I want you to enjoy both. And I don't want you to think that the frozen pizza is the whole picture pizza. So there's nothing wrong with enjoying that sashiko with the panel, but there are reasons that I do not do it. And it's a good I don't even want to say it's a good start because it's not really a good start. I want to enjoy the preparation time as well. The goal is not to be full. Of course, it's good to be full, like not, fulfill your stomach, but that's one part of the enjoyment. I want you to kind of enjoy the process of making that instead of just, taking that from the box and putting it in the oven. And that's the sashiko we kind of share. Very well articulated point. Oh, probably that's the English part, right? Yes, thank you. I've been thinking about the analogies a lot. It's really probably the best way to explain what is missing because I cannot define what is missing, but it's not really. How can I explain that something I cannot verbalize? Probably finding analogy, although it's not exactly the same because it's not the same story, but those are probably gonna form of something that I would like to express little by little, like by collecting like millions of analogy. Probably I can explain what it is in the middle. Yeah, so there are something that hmm. Well, that's what I teach actually, I guess. That's what I teach in my online class. I mean, you can learn Sashiko from this YouTube channel as well, but it's gonna take a long time because each person requires probably my personal attention. So, but anyway, um, that's what I want to share. Sashiko is more than stitching on the panel, or more than stitching on the so-called Sashiko pattern. There's no such a thing, Sashiko patterns. It's just geometric pattern. So, thank you, Erin. As a mom of three, I totally agree. Survival comes first. Your daughter owns passion will drive her to learn in whatever direction later. That's kind of the conclusion. Yes. So, we as a parent want her to do things a lot, right? Like we want her to be happy. So as the result, we try to kind of push things inside of her, but I think this generation, she's 6 right now, she is gonna live in the world I have never experienced. So probably our common sense of happiness may be probably completely different from what she will experience. So uh, she might not need languages in the future. AI might translate everything for them, for the human. By the way, I sometimes say that the translator from Japanese to English or English to Japanese in Sashiko are gonna be very much necessary, or in even cultural practice is gonna be very necessary in the future. But that's not because of the AI translation is not gonna cover it. It is because that sometimes culturally speaking, Japanese people cannot even explain what it is, even in Japanese. So if one cannot be explained in the same language, within the same cultural language, AI cannot translate it. That's why I keep saying that no matter how AI becomes good in translating, somebody who practice or somebody who actually does it has to try to um, draw the form of what we are talking about. We we cannot define. The biggest request is, can you define what Sashiko is? I can, but I don't want to. Because Sashiko is just a needlework, stitching. Doesn't have to be hand. I mean, of course, hand is preferred, but who said that it has to be hand? No. if if I define Sashiko as the hand stitching, many people say, okay, then let's use the word Sashiko. Well, no, that's a little bit of jump. It is developed in Japan, therefore there are a lot of Japanese cultural perspective in it. So that's the difficulty of this. All right, sorry for the not reading the comment. Thank you for answering my question. I am planning on doing a course to learn how to make my own patterns, but I wanted something to start me. Yeah, panel is not bad at all to start to see if you like it or not. Mm, but my recommendation is to, like, if you want to learn how to prepare the patterns by yourself, you don't have to take somebody's class. I do have a videos for free. It's not the best videos, but it is free, and I don't consider that as Sashiko. Drawing the patterns like this patterns right now, I'm stitching this. This is gonna be this one, but how to draw this pattern, I don't consider that as Sashiko, and I think that's the public wisdom. So I do have a video explaining step by step for free. I mean, I don't really plan to make um, money out of it. I don't consider that Sashiko, but Sashiko is the most delicious part of Sashiko is not there. So I hope you can try to meet what is the most delicious part of Sashiko. I mean, you'll probably come across if you keep doing that. Comment from Jordan. I think the comment is about the specific video about the denim. Still don't have that hurt to cut through my piece to find out the answer. To get that answer, I'm sorry, but you probably have to take my class. I will explain and I kind of give you the magic. Not even magic. It's really not that difficult, but it does not come off. The answer is not. It's not. It's gonna be okay because I am wearing it and it's okay, so it should be okay. it is okay because I am doing it right now and it doesn't come off. Just cut through the completed piece of Sashiko. Um, but that requires some certain procedure, some certain not a technique, procedure to make it happen. Um, to answer in a different way, if you just stitch with the whatever you have, it's gonna be, don't do it. It's gonna be sad, not a horrible. You will probably lose it. So we don't make knot in the Sashiko. Some people say that Sashiko requires knot. We don't. There's no need for Sashiko. So that's what I teach in the probably I had a live streaming talking about it. Maybe. But today's topic is not that, and I want to be fair with those who supported me by taking the class. So I will not offer the lecture here right now, but there are reasons, there are procedures that you can follow. It's not that difficult. You need to practice, but there are procedure to follow, and when they follow that procedure, the thread will be. It's not gonna. It will stay there. I have not received the complaints about it, so it's gonna be okay. It should be okay. I mean, I've been wearing that for a long time, so it does not come off. The one thing, alternatively, I cannot say that word. Alternatively, you can just make knot. If you're worried about losing thread, losing stitches, just make a knot and then it should stay there. Although we don't make knot, it's not the wrong thing to make knot. I just want everybody to have a choice to have both. Like choosing to make a knot, like choosing to make it is perfectly fine to make a knot like this and start. It's perfectly fine. But I want everybody to learn how to not to make a knot and stabilize the stitches. And where is my clipper? Hurry. Just a second, okay? Oh. And saying that Sashiko requires a knot without being able to do the Sashiko without a knot is a bit of filtering, because that's the kind of excuse not to be able to do that. And that's something I would like to avoid. If one choose not to make if one choose to make knot after learning both ways or several ways, then I have no problem. So try to learn that. So yeah, the whole today's theme is my question: why? No, not why. What do you like about Sashiko? And I talked about the possible two categories. One as the simple practice, simple repetition of stitching, moving hand, is one reasons people feel calm about. But there might be the second category of reasons why we feel calm when we do stitching. And the good summary is in today's Instagram post. But that second reason is a bit important to understand what Sashiko really is. Which I cannot verbalize. I think I know what Sashiko is, but it's so difficult to kind of verbalize it. I need help from my Japanese teachers. I probably will get a lot of help in the future. There are many Japanese who introduce their own culture practiced in English, and they are, well, how can I explain that? We are becoming, I am fortunate to meet them one by one, and they are humble enough to teach me. So not humble enough. They're humble, but they are willing to teach me as well. No, they are humble enough to not to teach usually, but they are teaching me little by little. So let's see how it's gonna go. I think it is okay to say that, but I used to say that Sashiko was stitching in the poor region by poor Japanese people. Um, and I probably, not a probably, I still do have the online class with saying that, but I am now saying, stop saying using the word poor and poverty in all of my lecture or speak, even like a post. I don't really write poor or poverty anymore. That's because of the teaching that I received from one person. Whew. God, it's gonna. It is taking so much brain to stitch and talk about this difficult topic. I usually mumble very meaningless things in Japanese, so it's very challenging to explain and introduce what it's what it. I hope I didn't really define what Sashiko is today, because that's not my goal. But I hope today's story is gonna be the part of your understanding what Sashiko is in the future, toward the future, in the future, yeah, toward the future. It is getting cold. The snow is not gonna be. I live in Pennsylvania, so you know we expect snow. It's not like Florida. Snow is gonna destroy everything. We expect snow, but school delay or get canceled, and we have to adjust. I mean, it's good that I can adjust. I am a stay-at-home. I like my not a main job, but I can stay at home. Actually, I stay at home to work. I stitch or work in house. So it's just adding my daughter there, and my wife can go to work. But it's one stress. I am going to get to the point where I can actually sew using the rocking method Sashiko makes look so easy. I think it's like a dance of two. Take my class. If you need that, take my class. I learned that there's a opening in the Floridas this month. The end of this month, I think I'm going. I haven't got a ticket yet, but I am going. I think I'm going to the Florida the end of this month. Um, Palm West, West Palm Beach, West Palm Beach, PBI. I learned that there's a few opening there, so if you are interested in that, it's Aya Fiverr Studio. If you Google it, you will probably find my class. Every other in-person class are fulfilled at this moment. There are probably waiting list, but that's probably difficult to get in. So, but at the same time, the online class is not bad at all. Under this COVID, I really spend a lot of time and effort to develop that. Many people get satisfied with that. it is not that easy. I sometimes say it's easy to get Sashiko, but it's it's not a rocket science. You don't need 4 years to get a degree or 6 years to get a PhD. It's probably the matter of 4 to 6 hours, but probably it's not that comfortable. But anybody can learn it. And if you really want to get to the point, my class is the point. If you don't, if you have another things to pay, then keep watching the live streaming. That will probably get to there. The reason I'm saying the probably is that some people do and some people didn't. So, but that's the answer to your get to the point request. Yeah, I really don't think I can stitch but one by one anymore. It takes so much time. I cannot do that. Well, I mean, I can, but I don't want to do that. Many, not well, many. I can say probably many, but I don't know if somebody's watching from my online class or my in-person class, but they can stitch as fast as I do. Probably faster sometimes. Yeah, I know people stitch faster than me. I get jealous sometimes. I mean, I'm not stitching as much as I want to. So, well, it's not healthy to compare. Let's not compare. Like if I start stitching, I won't probably make a post on Instagram. If I don't do that, somebody gotta do this. What is the fabric you're using? Is it available? Yes, it is available in my store. This fabric is probably the best fabric for Sashiko. Like we use this fabric pretty much in all of the projects we make. It's simply durable, easy to stitch, very good with our Sashiko thread. The I show just a second. The relation, it's really good with the Sashiko thread that we use, and it's expensive, but it's reasonably expensive. Some fabric can be way expensive, so and that's why we use this fabric a lot. And yes, and this is available in my store. It's called Indigo Fabric. I think SCR underline 100 is the lot number for this. At the same time, fabric can be anything. That's what I teach in my class. That's pretty much what I write every day. Fabric is important. Needle is important. Thread is the thimble is important. All of them are important. It's gonna make a lot difference when you use what I recommend. What we use now, it's not we recommend. It's what we use is gonna be the best for us. Of course, we only use what we think it's the best, and we only put our store. We put the items that we use only. we don't sell anything we don't use. For that, I mean, everything is important to make it happen nicely, but fabric is probably the last things I pay attention. The first thing is the thread. Thread is the key. Thread is the key of this Sashiko. There are a lot of Sashiko thread because of this trend, but not all the Sashiko thread is good enough for me. I don't know why they call Sashiko thread neither sometimes. Some Sashiko thread doesn't really fulfill the qualification of Sashiko thread to me. So I mean, don't use non-Sashiko thread though. I mean, it's perfect. You can. I mean, it's okay to use any thread, but it's gonna make a lot of difference. It's a like another extreme analogy. If you wanna make tomato sauce, use tomatoes. Don't use apple. If you use apple, it's gonna be the apple sauce. I mean, apple sauce is great. Apple sauce is great, but it's not a tomato sauce, right? It's the same procedure, same cooking. You cut it and then you stir it. But please use tomato when you are planning to make tomato sauce. I mean, mixing it might be good, but again, that's the extreme analogy. But that's what I see. The number 10 thread I received last week is brilliant. I'm very happy stitching with it. It gave me the beautiful, yes, thank you. Yes, the thread. So since you have that thread, number 10, I don't want to say that you don't have to purchase this fabric because it's my business, but you may not need it. It is, of course, it's gonna be a very different, you're gonna get a very different experience. And probably you can learn this stitching easier. But when you kind of have a surplus for that, and being honest, 100% honest, instead of buying a lot of fabric, I want you to take the class. The class will come with this fabric as well. So it is quite, how can I explain that? If your goal is to make Sashiko stitching this fast and this even, then probably that's the only way. I mean, I can do the private, but what's the point of having private when the class can't be there? It's fast in a straight line, but the curve I'm stitching is so slow. That's also the reason the curves get slower is because probably you're not using the thimble well. Well, it will change, of course, when you stitch the curve, but it shouldn't really change that much. Anyway. One day, if I have a good patron when I can sort of offer the gift card or reimbursement to everybody who took my class, then I can start teaching everything for free online. I just want to be fair with everybody who generously took my class. So, at the same time, I really don't want to do it. I want to make sure that they get it right. The scary part of me teaching is that they can spread the word on behalf of me if they learn from me, and I'm happy to do it, but if they do that, I want to make sure they got it right. That's probably the reason I really don't teach in the live streaming. If they get it from my live streaming without me teaching, that's not my teaching. They got it from somewhere else. They got it from me, but they got it from indirectly from me, so I don't have any responsibility for that. But if I teach, I feel like I have a responsibility for that. And that's probably the reason I really don't want to talk about technical perspective in the live streaming. But ideally, I want to make it as a public domain, so let's see how it's gonna go. One day. Where was that here? Whew, 1 hour of exactly 1 hour of stitching. I hope you brought some stitching project or even any project actually for that matter, and stitching or practicing together. I will go another 15 minutes or 30 minutes. And today's topic was what do you like about Sashiko, and I introduced the category of that questions from my perspective. It is probably the first 30 minutes of this live streaming I talked about it, and I will come back with this topic. What do you like about Sashiko? That's probably the most important, most scary question that I can think of. If you have an answer, if you have your own opinion, if you have own reply for that question, please leave it to the comment. I do not have time to reply to all of the comment, but I read it. So I may be able to pick up that comment next time when I'm live. And what else? Yeah, and if you have any request in topic, also please let me know in live or the comment section, because to be honest, I don't know what the audience don't know. It is really, I do have a lot of topics to share, so I'm sharing it, but at the same time is learning what is the request is kind of a very big support for me to figure it out. So if that's the case, please leave the comment. If possible, and this is the last actually favor to ask, if possible, I want you to kind of keep listening to what I'm saying. Like, you don't have to really look at the camera here. I'm not doing anything specific, but like keep listening this as the radio and kind of try to read between lines. I want you to try to listen to the between the lines. The Japanese language is very well designed to read between lines, and there are a lot of information in that sentence that it's not written or spoken. And I try to follow that when I speak in English. Of course, I'm not doing a very good job, but by listening to this live streaming, you may find something new every time you hear that. The reason I don't really talk well or stitch well while talking is that I'm really thinking, how can I put that unspoken message in between lines? So that'd be great if you can kind of keep listening and if you find something new, let me know what you find so I can kind of check what I did. English is so difficult, and Japanese is also difficult too. Whew. It has been 4 years. Wow, has been 4 years since I started offering this live streaming. The whole point is to learn by looking at it. So I think there are people who can do this without taking my class or online class, but that's okay. That's the whole point of this. And I hope that this live streaming and also the video I make is gonna explain or support my message that the Sashiko in English right now is not sufficient. It's not wrong, but it's not enough to define the whole picture of Sashiko. And it is very unfortunate that if we lose it, it's going to be very unfortunate. So I hope you can help me out to keep it as is. It's okay to change it. I'm not resisting to the change. I just want to change to be reasonable. Fair, for that matter, I guess. Okay. Then only 6 minutes, but it's okay. よいしょ。明日何しようかな。Hour and a half, hour and 6 minutes. It's not bad process. I mean, Sashiko is hand stitching, so it takes a lot of time. No matter how good you become, no matter how good you become, it will take some time. It's oh my god, my hair. It's gonna take some time. It's gonna take a long time to stitch. For example, when I stitch the whole denim, it's gonna take about 80 hours to 120 hours. It depends on the pattern, depends on how much I stitch. Usually I stitch full, but that's like 80 hours, and you may find that's crazy amount of hours. But at the same times, when it comes to that, when we have a Netflix, full season of one drama can take them many hours, so it's not that impossible to do it. Plus, when we enjoy the process, it's not that difficult to make it happen, and that's why I want to enjoy the process. Well, there was a question. Probably that was on the YouTube comment. How do we stitch without hurting our fingers, like fingers or wrist or shoulder? That's probably because of your posture, and you're not really using a lot of muscle. I have never had any issues with the fingers or shoulder or neck. I have a lot of issues. Trust me, I have a lot of issues around my body, but Sashiko doesn't really create the pain, like physical pain. And I can stitch for 24 hours if I want to, if I have to, if I want to, if I can do 24 hours. And when I said it 3 years ago, of course somebody challenged me like, oh, that's 24 hours is impossible. And I'm like this. So I did 24 hours of Sashiko stitching, separated into 8 hours non-stop though, 8 hours. And it should be somewhere in this YouTube channel. So if you want to waste 24 hours with me, please watch it. I really stitched for 24 hours. What I did was pretty much going to the bathroom. That was a crazy idea, but I enjoyed that. I'm willing to do it. I was going to do that in 2020, but this, pandemic happened, and stitching for 24 hours non-stop became a very big leisure, because we don't know when my daughter is going to be at home, and Yeah, only stitching for 24 hours is a little, it's a very big leisure right now, so I haven't done it. That I have not been able to done that yet. One day. And I'm in love with the calm and satisfaction this simple stitch and focusing bring to me. The resulting beauty of my finished product is astonishing. Over 600 responses on Facebook, my jacket posting. I'm glad. Um, there are very narrow definition of Sashiko right now, and the narrower it is, the better it sounds, because it's very to the point. As you wrote, it's to the point, and that's probably what the people around me is expecting me to say. The get to the point, what is the definition, what is the answer. But by offering that, I'm already filtering the culture, and if I filter the culture, then nobody can, not a nobody, but if I as a Japanese filter the culture, um, they will also believe that, and I don't want that to happen. So please try to keep reading my stories, listening to the YouTube videos, and one day you will find your own Sashiko. There are many people, there are many students who found what Sashiko is for them, to them. That's probably what I want to do. That's the way I can contribute to the Sashiko, and that's how I can pass down the Sashiko too. So keep in touch. Please keep watching, keep reading, keep wondering, keep learning. It's the ongoing process, as I do, and you can enjoy Sashiko and learn simultaneously. Okay, it was a pretty good live streaming. I hope you have a good night. Many places in the US is gonna be in the freezing right now, so be careful. I hope no snow tomorrow, but that's pretty too hopeful. All right, have a good night, and I will see you next Thursday night.